Thank you kindly for joining us on a Friday afternoon, the last show of the week with what has been a crazy week in downtown Charlottesville. In the eye of the storm, yet again, our studio here on Market Street, right off the downtown mall, right next to the police department, block away from these courthouses where protesters continue to pound the bricks with posters in hand, with chants echoing throughout the 60-degree spring downtown afternoon. You open the door to the studio, and if you listen closely, if there's not any cars going by Market Street, you can hear, and all week you could hear chants of protests outside the courthouses. We'll talk about the fallout. It's been a topic that's been one where it's been a polarizing topic. I mean, you know, some folks that watch and listen to the show are like, let's clean up these streets. If you're here illegally, out you go. There's other folks that watch the program that say, yes, if you're here illegally, you should not be here, but there are more human ways of managing immigration than what happened earlier in the week. And then there's other folks altogether that say, what are we doing here? This is not what we do in the greatest country in America. And then there's me who's stood by the statement that I've had all along. I understand that if you are in this country illegally, you should not be here. And we need to do a good job of managing the American population. But having plainclothes officers not showing documentation, wearing badges, or having branded uniforms when arresting people, showing them to the people that they are arresting is wrong. It's the execution of it that is wrong. We'll talk about that on today's show. I want to lead with the Federal Executive Institute on today's show. It is a massive parcel of 14 acres, ladies and gentlemen, assessed at $19,600,000 in the Charlottesville GIS. How about this? I spent a lot of time on the Charlottesville GIS, and this was a first for me. I went to Google. I Googled Federal Executive Institute Charlottesville, and when I Googled Federal Executive Institute Charlottesville, I saw the address for the Federal Executive Institute. Then I took that address, and I went to the Charlottesville GIS, and you could do it yourself. The address is 1301 Emmett Street North. And I typed it in, and then the profile for that address on the GIS showed up. I went to ownership history. The owner of the Federal Executive Institute on the Charlottesville GIS, Judah, do you know what it says?
No.
United States of America on the Charlottesville GIS. United States of America. And I was like, okay, there we go, United States of America. The United States of America purchased the Federal Executive Institute in 1982 for $1,994,000. $1,994,000 in 1982. That was the purchase price. Today, the 14 acres, more than 14 acres to be exact, about 14.1 acres on Emmett Street. And the structure, the building on that 14.1 acres, which is massive in size. We're talking 30,000 plus square foot building over levels here, is assessed at nearly $20 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you have a photo of that, don't you? Mm-hmm. Can you put the photo on screen of the Federal Executive Institute? Here's an interesting wrinkle to all this. Give me a thumbs up when that's on screen. Look at the screen, viewers and listeners. This is the Federal Executive Institute on Emmett Street. You blink and you miss it. I mean, it's so hidden. It's behind gates. The security is impressive. And here's the storyline now to follow of the Federal Executive Institute. UVA wants to buy it, and Charlottesville City wants to buy it. The University of Virginia could literally compete with Charlottesville City and its public school system to purchase this 30,000 square foot building and the 14 corresponding acres on Emmett Street. The city schools have a plan. The city schools want to centralize their preschool division and add their administrative offices to this location. UVA, does it have a plan right now for the Federal Executive Institute, or is it just playing Monopoly? How about this question for you? Who is the better buyer for the community at large for the Federal Executive Institute? The University of Virginia, which most certainly can pay more money than Charlottesville City, or the Charlottesville public school system? Who's the better buyer for the community? We'll unpack that topic, guys, on the I Love CVille show today. We'll also talk on today's program, a topic we didn't get to yesterday, the most expensive sale in City of Charlottesville history in a estate on Dairy Road that traded for $3,500,000 on the 8th of April. A couple purchased 1535 Dairy Road. Sean Tubbs has got great reporting about this in the CVille Weekly. He studies the GIS just like I do. This is the most expensive sale in City of Charlottesville history, $3,500,000 for an estate, ladies and gentlemen, known as Linden Hill. Built in 1921, sits on 1.355 acres, has a 4-bedroom house. It was initially listed for $3.8 million, sold for $3.5, and assessed, ladies and gentlemen, at $1,743,000. Absolutely incredible what's happening in this town. A lot we're going to cover on the program. We highlight our partners at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, John Vermillion, Andrew Vermillion. The team at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply is doing things the right way, the honest way, the communicative way, the way of doing business of integrity, locally owned and operated, 3 generations on East High Street and online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. Folks, we know the Vermillions, and they are stand-up people. Support the businesses you want to see make it another 60 years. We're going to get to the brouhaha from the courthouses on the show. We're going to get to that polarizing topic, and we're going to get to the fallout. I wonder if Jim Hingley is going to offer a statement on this. Conan Owen asked me to offer an apology to ICE with what we had to say a couple days ago. Carol Thorpe did not. She offered some clarity and some perspective on what happened, the Queen of Jack Jewett. And yesterday I said that Carol Thorpe wanted me to apologize to ICE. I want to correct myself. She did not. She just offered perspective on the topic. Conan, who I have a lot of respect for, love his comments on the show, asked for us to apologize to ICE. I'm not going to go and apologize to ICE. Okay? My take on this all along, I have no problem with our country managing men and women that are in our country illegally and looking to remove them from our country if they're here illegally. My entire problem with this entire fiasco was plain closed, no documentation in hand, no badge, mask on, nondescript van. It was the execution of the event. That was my problem. Yeah. And I stand by that, folks. I stand by that. If we're going to be the best country in the world, we need to do things on a day-to-day basis that embodies that statement, best country in the world. And from my standpoint, hiding your face and wearing plain clothes and not having a badge or documentation is not indicative of the best country in the world. But that topic is in the number 2 slot. The number 1 slot is the Federal Executive Institute. Put it back on screen, J-Dubs. And this is going to be a great conversation for your cocktail parties this weekend. Cocktail parties, I enjoy them. Got a little get-together this weekend. In fact, we're working on 2 get-togethers. My wife has us meeting friends in Richmond on Saturday, so we're going to make a day of it. Head to Richmond, do some stuff with the kids, and then meet our friends in the evening for drinks and food. And then on Sunday, we're planning a get-together with some friends. which I think will certainly have some cocktails and charcuterie on the horizon. This is something that I will bring up as a conversation starter. Judah, the Federal Executive Institute is located on Emmett Street. Its address is 1301 Emmett Street North.
Yeah.
This is a type of building where if you drive by it on Emmett Street, you may miss it. I'll ask you, Judah, do you know where this is located?
I do. I've driven by it a lot and always wondered what the heck it was.
Right? Always wondered what the heck it was. Nondescript, right?
Yeah.
And it's intentionally done that way for protection.
I believe there's a bit of a hill with bushes kind of going up to a fence.
A gated fence, and you're always like, what the hell is behind that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is across the street from Zaxby's Chicken and Fingers. This is down the street from the Cock Block.
Yeah.
Okay? Can you name the chicken joints on the Cock Block?
Let's see, one of them is...
Well, I just gave you Zaxby's.
Yeah. I wouldn't have gotten that one. I mean, there's obviously KFC.
Yep.
Then there's, is one of them Popeyes?
Popeyes, you're with it?
And something about chicken fingers or something?
Raising Cane's.
Yeah.
Raising Cane's, Popeyes, KFC, Zaxby's, and Chick-fil-A, all less than a mile apart on the same road, the Cock Block. Forget the chicken strip, it's the Cock Block. And the Federal Executive Institute is in the eye of the Cock Block store. And I did a little digging today because it's been in the news. It was first in the news because Charlottesville City Schools and the city of Charlottesville wanted to purchase the Federal Executive Institute to create a home for administrative offices and to help them with their management of preschools, early education. I was like, this is a great idea. Yeah. As someone that has a first grader, my wife and I have two boys, a first grader and a 2.5-year-old. We see firsthand the value of early education. Our 7-year-old, our first grader, a product of COVID. And his very impressionable years during COVID were spent because the government told us to do this, mandated us, instilled fear in us as a recluse for a large portion of his early life. All of us were on lockdown in our house. Okay? Our youngest, who's 2.5-year-old, has been the absolute opposite. From 6 months on, he has been in an early education setting. From 6 months on. Now, he has an advantage of having an older brother where he can watch and mimic. His older brother is his hero. There's nothing more that our 2.5-year-old wants to do than be with the 7-year-old. Scooting in the driveway, running around the house, on the swings, eating the same food, watching the same shows. He idolizes his older brother. And because he has this older brother, Judah, he is doing everything so much faster. Speaking, running, riding his scooter, playing sports, his colors, his depth and vocabulary, his eating, his outgoing nature, conversating with people, socialization. His older brother, a product of the pandemic, where a good portion of his early years were on lockdown with mom and dad and whatever other family that was there with us on lockdown because the government spooked us, right? I have seen firsthand as a parent the value of early education. So when Charlottesville Public Schools and City Hall says, we want to buy the Federal Executive Institute. Now they said we can't pay market value for it. Remember early in the week? They said we're going to need some kind of price break. We're going to need some kind of subsidy. We're going to need some kind of hookup if we're going to buy this. But we, Charlottesville City Schools, want these 14 acres, this 30,000 plus square foot building because it's safe. It's in a central location. You have the gate around it, which will add safety, right? Yeah. It's already got security in play. They're going to convert. There's a pool on site. There's a swimming pool on site that they will convert to a playground for preschool students. This is a great idea. Well, guess what happened, Judah? Guess what went down after the news broke earlier this week on the I Love CVille show that public schools wanted this for preschools, for little kids to get smarter, administrative offices. UVA said, in Mr. Burns fashion, on the top of their hill, by their mansion. Mr. Burns. Just like this, someone at UVA. Well, we want that building. We want that building. You can't give that to Charlottesville.
And guess how much money we have.
What's that?
And guess how much money we have.
Mr. Burns. What's Mr. Burns known for? Excellent. Excellent. Mr. Burns says we want that building. And the University of Virginia Board of Visitors has called a special meeting for Tuesday. And in this special meeting with the Board of Visitors, they are going to figure out a way to do something that UVA does really well. What is that, Judah?
What is it that UVA does really well?
Yeah. Spend money.
Oh, I was going to say
play Monopoly.
I was going to say avoid paying taxes.
Avoid paying taxes on that real estate they purchased. Well said, Judah.
Speaking of which, I have a question. Would the Charlottesville City Schools be... do they pay taxes?
That's a great question. I don't have that answer. Neil Williamson, John Blair, question for you. If the city schools purchase this, if Charlottesville Public Schools and Charlottesville City owns this, are they paying taxes on those holdings? That's a great question. I would love to know that answer. I don't have that answer. I should know that answer. If any viewer and listener has that answer, if you could put it in the feed, I want to learn from you. One of the beautiful things about doing this show is I learn from the viewers and listeners all the time. Anyone can offer that answer, please do. I'm going to ask you this question. First, let me give some details on the Federal Executive Institute, okay? Should I do it in my Mr. Burns voice?
Can you do the whole thing?
I don't think I
Mr.
can.
Burns voice?
What? Give me a couple sentences of Mr. Burns talking, so I can see if I can mimic it like my young child mimics his older brother.
Oh man, what's his assistant called? What's his assistant?
Just give me a couple sentences of Mr. Burns talking.
Should we pay taxes on that?
Waylon Smithers.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr. Smithers.
Can you talk like Mr. Burns for a little bit?
Mr. Smithers, do you think we should pay taxes on this building?
Is that how Mr. Burns talks?
I don't know. It's been a very long time. I'm messing it up now.
The Federal Executive Institute. Excellent. Okay, some background, ladies and gentlemen. First, some facts for you. The building was built in 1951. Put the building on screen. This is fodder for your cocktail party. Federal Executive Institute, 1301 Emmett Street North. The building was built in 1951, Judah. The building is ginormous. It is more than 30,000 square feet. It's about 32,000 square feet according to the GIS, guys. 32,000 square feet. Listen to this. The Federal Executive Institute is 14.1 acres. Mm-hmm. Smack dab in the city, contiguous 14.1 acres. It's zoned NX10. Currently, its tax category is exempt. It's taxed exempt. It is owned by the United States of America in the Charlottesville GIS. The elementary school it would feed into is Trailblazer Elementary School. I don't even know which one is Trailblazer anymore. Which one is Trailblazer Elementary School in the city? They've rebranded these schools so much, I can't even keep track of them.
Yeah, I have no idea what any of
Is it
them are.
Trailblazer? Which one's Trailblazer? Is that the one that's by a lake, but there is no lake there? Oh, no. That's the school that's called Lakeside, and there's no school, there's no lake by the school, but it's called Lakeside. Was it called Lakeside because it's next to a puddle? Who knows? I'm getting off track over here. Here's some other facts of the Federal Executive Institute. It was purchased, ladies and gentlemen, by the United States of America in 1982 for $1,994,925. It has an assessed value this year of $19,571,700. Bill McChesney says Trailblazer is venable. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
The assessment on this building is nearly $20 million. Think about that. It's contiguous. It's right in the middle of the city. Vanessa Parkhill asked a good question. Was it originally built by the feds? Actually, no. I had that question as well. According to the ownership history in the Charlottesville GIS, it was purchased in 1974 by Shufford Mills, Inc. for $600,000. What the hell is Shufford Mills, Inc.? Let me do a basic Google search for Shufford Mills, Inc. SHUFORD Mills, Inc. Shufford Mills, Inc. Does it even show up? Well, there's a Shufford Mills LLC in Hickory, North Carolina right now that's aerospace product and parts manufacturing. I don't know if that's the one. Shufford Mills began, wow, is this the one? Our history. Let's see. There's a timeline. I'm actually doing this on the fly on a talk show here. I'm getting off track. My point is this. Who is a better buyer, or my question I want to ask you is this. Who is a better buyer for these 14 plus acres, this 32,000 square foot building that's behind a privacy security gate that is one of the most valuable pieces of property in the city of Charlottesville right now, and there's not much developable property left in Charlottesville. In fact, Woodard Properties right now, Judah Wickower, is pursuing 84 apartments at the entrance of the Willoughby neighborhood on 5th Street. And the project that they have that they're pursuing is from the old zoning code, not the new zoning ordinance. And they have about a year left on their clock of getting this 84 apartment project and the entrance of Willoughby in the works and moving. Or if they don't get it done, or if they don't get the project going within the next year, then that project cannot be grandfathered in under the old zoning rules and regulations. Why that's important is because there's no affordable housing requirements. Sean Tubbs has got great reporting on this. So we are so strapped for land in the city of Charlottesville that they want to jam 84 more apartments on 5th Street at the entrance of Willoughby. I'm telling you this right now. I was having this conversation with friends who were considering selling their Avon extended house and moving over to Mosby Mountain. And I said to them, are you nuts? Do you know the traffic snarl that 5th Street extended is becoming? It's becoming akin to 29 with that Wawa that's now up and running, 84 potential more apartments at the entrance of Willoughby, and whatever PHA continues to develop at the Southwood location as that project finally materializes and is fully online.
Yeah.
That is a 29 North corridor and should be avoided at all costs. That's what I said. Those are my exact words. So here you have 14 acres behind a privacy gate that no one knows is back there on Emmett Street. 14 acres of rolling, untouched, contiguous grass, except for a 30,000 square foot building. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're in the Macklin building. The Macklin building is, I'm going to tell you right now, Charlottesville GIS. I'm going to go to Charlottesville GIS on a good portion of this building. I should know this. I'm going to type in 408 East Market Street. Okay, there it is, 408 East Market Street. Oh, man. The Macklin building, the building we are in, it's a commercial condo. According to the Charlottesville GIS, our building is how big is that building? Of course, it doesn't have the total size of the building. I would say the building that we are in is 20,000 square feet, and we're on, it has the acreage, a third of an acre, the Macklin building. Mm-hmm. Imagine 30,000 square feet. Imagine 30,000 square foot building on 14 acres, the value. And this has got me asking you, Judah, this question, and then you, the viewer and listener, this question. Who is a better buyer for this building, for this piece of property? The city of Charlottesville for public schools or the University of Virginia? Judah, I can't wait to hear your take on this.
I would 100% say the city schools. Does UVA need this building? I truly doubt it. But it would be an incredible boon to our city for the purposes that they've outlined.
What do you think, viewers and listeners? Joanne Mackey is watching in Keswick. She said the seller of that building is Donald Trump. She says he will want top dollar for that building. She adds, what Doge was set up to do, Department of Government Efficiency. He is not a social worker, and you may be disappointed, Jerry. Of course, UVA is going to win this deal. William McChesney watching the program on McIntyre Road. Bill says, originally it was a hotel. The name escapes me. That was changed to the Jefferson Professional Institute in the late 60s and early 70s. After that, the federal government purchased it. Thank you, Bill. Your history in this community makes this program better, Bill McChesney. The United States of America bought the Federal Executive Institute in 1982. So Bill's timeline checks out. Well done, William. Big time props to you. I'm going to make a similar argument to Judah. If you don't think, viewers and listeners, that a better buyer for this building, community goodwill, community stewardship, is Charlottesville City to house preschoolers and early education and some administrative offices, then you're not reading the tea leaves correctly. UVA is playing Monopoly here. They're playing Monopoly, and they know Emmett Street is a critically important corridor to the grounds of Thomas Jefferson's University.
Oh, yeah.
And just like they've done with Ivy Road, where the University of Virginia owns Ivy Square Shopping Center, the Foods of All Nations Shopping Center, which they bought for about $21 million a couple years ago. Then they bought the Moe's Barbecue building, right? They're scooping up everything down Ivy Road. And what they could not scoop up, that Truist Bank site, is now at a 10-story apartment building that's being built next to Moe's. Yeah. UVA, they could win that deal, and then they did everything humanly possible to try to kill that deal and kill that project by politicking city council, saying this would be an eyesore and out of context for the western corridor to Thomas Jefferson's University. Don't allow this to be built.
Yeah.
And then city council said no, because it's a pro-housing council, and councils swayed by activists locally. They said, we're going to allow these apartments to be built. Which, okay. Apartments got built. UVA lost that. Mm-hmm. So UVA is no dummy. They realized that they made a mistake not buying that Truist Bank site when they had a shot.
Yeah.
They made a mistake. They may not admit to making the mistake, but the University of Virginia made a mistake not buying the Truist Bank site. And how we know that they think they made a mistake is because they politicked council for a year to not allow that apartment complex to be built next to Moe's. And they lost. Okay? So UVA learns from the mistake they made, and now they're going after this building. Carol Thorpe says, if UVA swoops in like a vulture and lifts that from the school system at top dollar, that will be an expensive hit on goodwill with the community. The question is, does UVA care? I don't think they do. Great point, Carol Thorpe.
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
She's probably right.
I don't think they do. And remember, at the foundation, there's some changes. At UVA, there's some changes. Tim Rose is retiring. Colette Sheehy is retiring. New blood is in. The head of the CEO, the new CEO of the foundation, soon to be CEO of the foundation, is the former top executive of the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors and a longtime UVA Foundation employee. New blood is coming in. Regardless, for your cocktail party this weekend, if you're looking for something to talk about, and Martha Friedman says that building was originally the Thomas Jefferson Inn. I didn't know that, Martha Friedman. I love this show. I've only been in this community for 25 years. I came here as the first year at the University of Virginia, Dabney 101, old dorms, right off of Bonnie Castle Circle. So I only have true historical context of 25 years of living in the community. Okay? Now, I've heard many a story from my media days of time before I got here, but my real context and firsthand perspective is 25 years. And Martha Freeman, you just taught me something. The Thomas Jefferson Inn was once the site of the Federal Executive Institute, the Thomas Jefferson Inn. And how about this for some return on investment? Purchased in 1982 by the University of Virginia for $1,900,000. Assessed at $19,600,000 right now. And the assessments always lag market value. Look at the return on investment. What does that trade for? What will that trade for the Federal Executive Institute when it's all done? If I put the over-under at $25 million, is it over $25 million?
By when?
I think it's going to happen really quickly. I mean, Trump looks like he wants to get this sold like ASAP. Would you do a prop bet after 25 million over-under?
No.
President Trump closed it in February, the Federal Executive Institute. UVA submitted an application on Monday, this past Monday. They have an emergency meeting called for Tuesday of this coming week. And the University of Virginia may steal, this is like the quarterback coming in at the last minute and stealing the girlfriend of the president of the Key Club. The starting quarterback, varsity quarterback, the 3-year letterman who just led the Mustangs to the Jefferson District Championship. He's like, I got my eye on that prize over there. And he takes the girlfriend of the president of the Key Club and says, she's mine. That's what UVA is doing right now.
Sounds like the villain in the movie.
Like what?
Sounds like the villain in the...
Are they not the villain in this?
They very well
Steal a building from kids?
Yeah.
From preschoolers?
Yeah.
They're stealing a building from preschoolers.
Excellent.
Excellent. No, it's like this. Didn't he do this? Excellent.
Excellent.
Excellent. He's just, I see them over there. Excellent.
Oh, here's the perfect quote of his.
Thank you, Martha Freeman.
Friends, family, religion. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
Is he saying that to Smithers?
Probably.
What is it again?
Friends, family, religion. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed at business.
Oh, God. The Simpsons was such a great show.
Yeah.
Such a great show. Almost like able to forecast actual happenings before they happen.
Yeah. Here's another good one. Ew, the foul stench of youth.
Judah's loving this. I could listen to you do to Mr. Burns impressions all day. Give me another one.
Oh, let's see. What's another good one?
Give me another one.
I'm looking for a good one. The metric system is the tool of the devil. My car gets 40 rods to the hogshead, and that's the way I likes it.
Oh, God. It's Friday. I think we're going to wake up in a couple of weeks and find out that UVA paid $20-some million for the Federal Executive Institute. And then they're just going to land bank it. And then we'll find out in years what they're going to do with it.
Yep.
And such is the nature of cash is king. Maybe some of that endowment money that's been earmarked for something, those wealthy donors that gave all that money to the foundation or to UVA.
They'll finally get their name on a building?
Yeah, they'll get their name on a building now. This is how you'll get your name on a building. You love that.
What?
How that played out. You think the whole thing is bogus, don't you? The name on the building?
I mean, I think if $14 billion is all people wanting their name on a building, most of them are going to be very disappointed.
Why do you say that? Because it would require like the city to buy up, UVA to buy up the whole city for the names on the building to materialize?
Yeah. How many buildings would you have to put someone's name on
For 14 billion? I mean, think about it. That's a great question. If 14 contiguous acres, one of the most prime pieces of real estate in Charlottesville City, is what? Somewhere between $20 and $25 million? I mean, I couldn't tell you an exact amount. I mean, that would be a great question for somebody like Rob Neal or somebody like Woody Fincham. That's a great question for Woody Fincham. Great question for Woody Fincham. What is the 14 acres on Emmett Street market value?
Yeah.
Right? Contiguous.
Yeah.
On Emmett Street.
Imagine what you could build on there.
What you could build on that. Was that $30 million of market? We know it's assessed at 19 and change, and assessments are far lagging. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Excellent. All right, next topic. What do you got, Judah Wickar? Martha Friedman says, I visited a friend going through training there a number of years ago. It found it was originally a hotel. The city may have additional costs to renovate it to fit their needs. It's not a state-of-the-art facility. Vanessa Parkhill said, I always thought that the Federal Executive Institute was a location where classified stuff was happening. And Kiefer Sutherland from 24 was being trained there. Rob Neal goes, well, you could walk to Bodo's. The value is walking to Bodo's. How do you take your Bodo's, Rob? I'll take mine a bacon, a sausage, egg, and cheese on a salt bagel. Cut in half. I always requested cut in half, and they rarely cut all the way through. And then when I go and pull them apart, some of the insides get stuck and they pull out of the other side.
They don't even cut
all the way
the
through.
Insides?
I want my bagel cut in half, which means all the way through, where I have two separate pieces.
Yeah.
If you don't cut it all the way through and the bottom bagel does not get cut, when you go rip and pull it apart, you take some of the insides of the other half that you aren't grabbing and your sandwich falls apart. He takes a Clio salad with a side of everything bagel, Rob does. That sounds delicious, Rob. All right, next question, next topic. What do you got? It's 1:15. Joanne Mackey says, preschoolers do not need 14 acres. Does this expenditure require open discussion by taxpayers? Where's the money to purchase? Teachers will be like, where's my raise if you have all this money? They were actually going to have money contributed to them to make this purchase. In fact, let me call it up from earlier in the week. Federal. Let me see if I can call it up from earlier in the week on the I Love CVille show from our notes. So Charlottesville City Schools wants the Emmett Street campus as a home to centralized preschool and division administrative offices. It would free up other school properties for expansion of the division's alternative education program. Charlottesville City Schools say this is not going to be additional money needed because they're going to consolidate the efforts with 6 other locations and the cost associated with those 6 other locations into this one. Charlottesville City Schools would have the opportunity to acquire this if their application is approved by Trump at reduced or no cost through the public benefit allowance discount for educational purposes. So Charlottesville City Schools would not be spending any money on this because they would look to do it through the public benefit allowance discount for educational purposes. Little to no money. That's what the superintendent, Dr. Royal Gurley, said. Well, I'm sorry, Dr. Royal Gurley, the $14 billion endowment's got you beat here, bud.
By a little bit.
Next headline, what do you got, J-Dubs?
Oh, let's see.
Oh, yeah, the outcry at the courthouse.
Yeah.
You set the stage on this here. This has been one of the most polarizing topics ever covered on the I Love CVille show. Set the stage on this. By now you know 3 plainclothes men, one wearing a baklava, abducted another man and 2 other men and threw them into a nondescript white van without having a badge on a badge in sight,
right,
documentation in their hand, or any branded uniform we are caveating they did tell the bailiff that works for Chan Bryant, the Albemarle County Sheriff, that they would be doing this, but they did not show any kind of like branding, uniform, documentation, or badges to bystanders or the people that they were arresting, air quotes. You set the stage of what we're going to cover now, Judah. This isn't the last we're going to hear of this. I'm very curious to see what Mr. Jim Hingley's investigation yields here. Mr. Hingley often watches the program. I would think that Jim Hingley would offer a statement, a follow-up statement based on his investigation. He's a man of measured nuance, a very even-keeled and consistent with his temperament. A man I admire, Jim Hingley. I hope he hears that. One of the viewers and listeners watching the program also says, has the city schools even paid for their K-Tech purchase yet? So this guy who sent me a text message is saying, look, they can buy the Federal Executive Institute, but don't they still owe Albemarle County money for K-Tech? I don't have that answer for you, Jeff. Set the stage for us with the outrage that's going on, J-Dubs.
Well, on Tuesday, after the arrest of two individuals at the Albemarle County Courthouse, as Jerry mentioned, there were no IDs or warrants shown to anyone asking for them after the men initially showed them entering the building. And now people are getting scared. There are a lot of questions. The ICE did not tell anyone that they were coming. I don't believe
ICE told the bailiff the bailiff
knew before they got there.
Oh no, but the bailiff knew at the time that they were doing this.
Right.
All right.
They
Viewers and listeners know this part of the story.
They couldn't have gotten in without showing the bailiffs, but they didn't coordinate with police, with the sheriff's office. They didn't coordinate with the courthouse. They just showed up. As we've mentioned before, they were dressed like anyone.
Viewers and listeners know this part of the story.
And since Tuesday, one of the attorneys at the Legal Aid Justice Center has been getting flooded with phone calls from people who have to go to court for all the reasons that you have to go to court, and
people are just scared to go to court now.
People are scared to go to court now.
This is what we said was going to happen when the story first broke. Why would anyone go to court to pay a parking ticket now? Why would anyone go to court to contest anything, even if it means their rights, their freedoms, their liberties are on the line? Yet again, a marginalized population is going to suffer here.
And potentially more than that.
Even if you were in the country legally, but happen to be family members or Hispanic, minority in descent, you would think about going to court now.
We're already hearing reports about people who are citizens of the U.S. Getting taken, abducted, whatever you want to call it, arrested, and held for upwards of a week, if not longer. And so, yeah, it's entirely reasonable that people are, getting scared to show up somewhere where their name is on a docket or registered somewhere.
I said,
they would be there.
I'm clarifying what I've already said all week long. I am all for managing borders. I am all for having documented official citizens in our country. Are people pursuing citizenship the above-board way, the right way, the documented way?
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I am against plainclothes, mass, no documentation, no badge, no uniforms with doing this. I am against that.
Yeah, it's the implementation
It sets
that
a precedent of fear and
poorly
terror. Fear and terror. Now, Albert Graves tags me in a post, and Albert Graves knows I respect him tremendously. and he's highlighting the news that's making its way across the national news cycle, that a federal agent is caught on camera arresting a judge. That's now in the national news. A Wisconsin judge arrested, accused of shielding immigrant from federal agent. Milwaukee judge Hannah Duggan is accused of helping a man evade immigration agents and is arrested. We're now at this point. This news is breaking. It's making its ways around the national cycle. This is from the Associated Press. The FBI on Friday arrested a Milwaukee judge accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities, escalating a clash between the Trump administration and the judiciary over the Republican president's sweeping immigration crackdown. Wow. FBI Director Kash Patel announced on social media the arrest of Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Duggan, who he said intentionally misdirected federal agents away from a man they were trying to take into custody at her courthouse last week. So this really puts in perspective who has the power. And I would imagine when Mr. Hinchley issues a statement, and I would expect a follow-up statement from the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, because he's a measured man, a man that plans and thinks things out. I would bet that statement is going to basically be along the lines of, there's really not anything I can do. If the FBI can send plainclothes officers, and here's the photo. Tell me if they have, is this on screen here?
Yeah.
Right there?
It's a little bit bright.
Step back, is that better?
Forward a little bit. Tilt it.
There? Up?
Tilt it to your right, left.
Jesus,
I'm just trying to see.
Is that better?
It's a little bit better, but I can't really see.
Okay, there's a photo making its way around of a man wearing a mask. Notice in this situation, the man has branding on. His police vest says police at least. And it says FBI on its vest. He's in uniform. But there is a man with a mask arresting a judge. We're at the point now where judges are being arrested. And if judges are being arrested, that means sheriffs and Commonwealth's attorneys have their hands tied.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say this again, and I said it earlier in the week. If we think we've seen the last of what we saw on Tuesday here in Charlottesville, you're not, one of my favorite phrases, reading the tea leaves correctly. Lonnie Murray, his photo on screen. A big problem could be that people who are victims of crimes or witnesses to crimes won't want to come forward out of fear of deportation to some third world prison. I imagine even green card holders are probably reluctant to have anything to do with the courts or the police. 100%. 100%. My mother's Cuban, off the island Cuban, came here in third grade, not speaking English. Mima and Papi came here when she was in third grade, fearing their lives in Cuba, left everything in Cuba, the home they own, their assets, their affluence, their upper middle class life, their self-respect they left in Cuba in a lot of ways. And they came to South Florida, Miami first, then Naples, couch surfing because they didn't have anywhere to stay, sleeping on floors or couches in the homes of friends and family members because they wanted to live, because of fear of Castro and communism and that they would have been killed because of their prominence in Cuba. Yeah. So they went from prominence and affluence and a name, a family of respect, to couch surfing, sleeping on floors, ditch digging, hotel maid, and my mom put in a spin in an English-speaking school in third grade without speaking any English, only Spanish. Ridiculed mercilessly, my mom. Till this day, gets emotional thinking about that when it comes up. Now they finished went from ditch digger to barber. Poppy finished as a barber. Mima eventually stopped being a hotel maid. And my mom finished with an associate's degree, a 2-year degree, learned English, met my dad while she was working for a bank and was the manager of tellers at a bank. But I know firsthand what this is all about. And the Cuban culture then, you didn't talk to the police. You weren't talking to the police. You figured it out on your own. Imagine now with all this stuff. Lonnie makes a great point.
Yeah.
Great point, Lonnie Murray. Great point. Judges are being arrested, Judah.
Yeah.
Judges.
And
we're not even 100 days into office.
Yeah.
Not even 100 days in. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Next headline, what do you got?
Let's see. We've got defaulted student loan debt will be collected on 5/5.
All right, I want to spend a little bit of time on this, less than a minute, 2 minutes on this. This is a national headline. I'm curious to see if this impacts Charlottesville in any capacity. Many student loan borrowers recently got unwelcoming news. The United States Department of Education will restart the process of involuntary collections, including wage garnishments, as early as the 5th of May. So if you're behind on student loan debt, they're now going after you to collect that debt. For 5 years, collection activity on federal student loans has mostly been paused. Remember, the Biden administration was very unaggressive with collection of student loan debt. In fact, there was a pause offered or relief offered on student loan debt during the pandemic, payments of those loans. Trump is now going after it and saying, pay what you owe. Now, I'm of the mindset, if you took student loan debt to have a 4-year degree, college, you should pay that back.
Yeah.
Okay? I was busting tables at Ruby Tuesdays, hosting, waiting tables, bartending, scrapping while student UVA to pay for my school.
Right.
Playing poker, hustling pool, hustling foosball, running a sports book, waiting tables, being an entrepreneur to pay for my school at UVA. If you took on debt, even if it's the astronomical numbers like you hear, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 to pay for school, you should pay that back. Why I'm relaying this headline to you is on the 5th of May, the Trump administration is going after non-payers. And I know for a fact that we got some of them in this area. So I'm very curious to see what that does to the Charlottesville and Central Virginia ecosystem. All right, that was about a minute on that topic. Is the next topic the Dairy Road topic?
We've got that, and we've got the CVille election.
All right, why don't we talk about the election, then we'll do Dairy Road. Put the election head. Lower third on screen. Is this not the most nondescript election cycle you have seen in a long time? It is vanilla and boring. You have a governor's race going on. But this election cycle is about as boring as it gets. You only have 3 candidates running in the city. 3 for 2 spots. 2 of those are incumbents. Mm-hmm. Pinkston and Wade. Jen Fleischer is challenging the incumbents. The one headline driver would be the candidates for Charlottesville School Board, including Ziana Bryant, the activist. Probably most known activist locally is Ziana Bryant. She wants to be on the Charlottesville School Board. But when it's all said and done, this has been a boring election cycle. Am I right?
Yeah. I've hardly heard a peep about any of it, but is that really surprising? I mean, are we just at a point where it just seems like business as usual? Is there, are we really worried about city council changing much?
Well, this is what's odd. Winsome Early Sears and Miss Spanberger are running for governor.
Yeah.
When McAuliffe and Youngkin were running for governor, there was fireworks and brouhaha. We were captivated by a McAuliffe and Youngkin race. Are we as captivated by a Winsome Earl Sears Spanberger race? Why has that not trickled down to locally? We have the lieutenant governor, one of the lieutenant governor candidates coming on the show. Is it next week or is it in May?
I believe it's early May.
Early May on the I Love CVille show, they reached out to us to come on the program to talk with you guys, the audience. Do you know what date? Did you put that on the calendar?
I think so.
John Reed, his team reached out to us to come on our show in May for the Central Virginia community to get to know the candidate running for lieutenant governor. Former conservative talk radio host John Reed. But goodness gracious, the city council race is boring.
Yeah.
Is Supervisor Galloway, who's running for a third term, does he have any opposition in the Rio district?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right? There is some opposition in the Jack Jewett district taking over for Diantha McKeel. There's no fireworks or brouhaha. Remember last year we were in the middle of Allison Spillman and Meg Bryce. That was a year of brouhaha. The fundraising totals would also indicate how little interest folks have in this election cycle. The totals are meager. Meg Bryce and Allison Spillman were raising $250,000 each for a school board seat in Albemarle County.
Yeah.
The most amount of money raised in any school board race in Albemarle County history last year. And then this race, this election cycle, crickets. Why is that, viewers and listeners? Do people just not care?
I think when there's not, I don't want to say
There's no star power?
There's no.
Is that what you're saying?
No. What's the struggle? What's the like?
I mean, the wake of Trump winning, you would think there would be engagement. I don't know. All right, last headline. Put it on screen.
It's all Democrats here.
Oh, you're saying because there's no parity. And why people were interested is because they thought Bryce would beat Spillman or could beat Spillman. She ended up losing by 20-plus points. It wasn't a close race. But you're saying the appearance of parity is lacking, and as a result, no one cares.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
That's sad. Judah might be right, but that's sad.
One Democrat over another, is that all that noteworthy?
All right, last headline. 1535 Dairy Road sold on April 8th for $3,500,000. This home was assessed at $1,743,000 and initially came on the market at $3.8 million. It's known as Linden Hill, built in 1921 and sits on 1.35 acres. This home also includes 2 charming cottages along with its 4-bedroom house. It has a heated saltwater pool and spa. It's close to everything. $3.5 million, ladies and gentlemen. The top real estate transaction for a non-LLC in Charlottesville City history.
Yep.
$3.5 million. Remember, in October, UVA paid $3.5 million for the Oak Lawn Estate in Fifeville, which they have under study period right now. By the way, that 5.2 acres. How long is the Federal Executive Institute going to sit under study period when UVA ponies up $20 million for it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. $3.5 million for Charlottesville City property. We now, ladies and gentlemen, at 1535 Dairy Road, have a new all-time high for a transaction in Charlottesville history. Anything else you want to add on anything in the show? That's a good closing point. You did a hell of a job this week.
Thank you.
Never a dull moment.
Definitely not.
Judah Wickower, good people. You crushed it this week. My name is Jerry Miller. That's the I Love CVille Show. I think we've given you some fodder for your cocktails and charcuterie this weekend. So long, everybody.